In this video, we will show you how to replace your defrost door actuator. Let's get started. The first thing we need to do to get started on this process is to make our way under the hood to the negative battery terminal. We'll use a 10mm wrench to loosen this nut just enough that we can remove the wire from the battery itself, setting it aside so it's making no contact. Now we can make our way underneath the driver's side dash so we can get ready to replace the defrost actuator. There's two actuators underneath here. There's one nice and low, but the one that we're going to replace is up a little higher. It's a little bit hard to access, but you can do it. Let's make our way underneath the dash. Now, if you were to look up past this area, you're going to be able to find the actuator that we're trying to replace. As you can tell, it's buried up in here. To gain access to this, we're going to remove this whole area, the black box that has wiring leading to it. The first thing we want to do to remove this box is to first remove the wiring. Try pulling this aside so you can see. We'll start with this bottom black connector. For this, you're going to find two locking tabs. There's one down along the bottom. You can use a small pocket screwdriver or your finger to try to press it in. Gently give this a little tug just to dislodge it. Up along the top, you'll find the same exact looking tab. Go ahead and squeeze that one as well and remove the wiring. Give it a quick inspection for corrosion. Assuming it looks good, set that one aside. Let's move along to the white connector. This is the same exact thing. You have a tab on the bottom and a second one along the top. Just give it a little tug. I'll use a pick for this one. Quick check for corrosion once again. That looks good. Continue on to your last wiring connector up there. For this one, you'll find that you have a locking tab right down along this area. Go ahead and press that in and pull this out. There it is. Now at this point, we're going to move along to our two 10mm headed mounting bolts. You'll find one on either side of this. There's one towards the driver's side of the vehicle. It's located up a little high. And then there's one towards the passenger side. It's a little lower. Remove the pair, then remove this box. There's our first one. Now that I have that one out of there, I'll continue on to my last mounting bolt. Get this out of here. Now we should be able to reach up inside the dash with our curved pick. We're going to first start by disconnecting the wiring harness from this. On it, you'll find that you have a singular push tab. Go ahead and push on that to release the lock and slide the wiring up and off. We'll just give that a quick check for corrosion. Assuming it looks good, set that aside. Now, when you look at this, you're going to find that you have three mounting screws. From this camera angle, you can only see two of them. The top bolt is a 5.5mm bolt. Down along the forward lower part, it's a 7mm. And for the one you can't see from this angle, it's also a 7mm. I'll start with the 5.5. There's that first bolt. Give it a quick inspection and set it aside. Continue on to one of my 7mm headed bolts. We'll use our socket for this one. The last one, you'll have to use a 7mm wrench. There's that next one. Now we can start removing the last bolt. This is going to take a little bit longer because we're using a wrench. There's our last bolt. Now we can grab onto that actuator and remove it from the vehicle. There it is, friends. Now we can get ready to install our brand new actuator. The first thing that I always like to do is do a quick comparison. I want to make sure that they're the exact same. As you can tell, they are. Let's set that old one aside and prepare to install our new one. Now, when we're putting this in here, you want to pay attention to the shaft of the actuator. You'll notice that it has a whole bunch of notches, and it has a cutout area where it's missing a notch. You want to make sure that that lines up perfectly with the area inside of your heater box. All we'll do is just go ahead and set that in there and then twist it as necessary. There we are. Slides right in. Now that we have that set into place, let's continue on with our mounting bolts. Keep in mind, the top bolt is the 5.5mm bolt. Don't switch them up. Once I have those two started, I'll also start in the one that's hidden behind this bracket. With all three of your mounting bolts started, go ahead and snug them up. Keep in mind, when you're tightening this, you're only screwing into plastic. You don't need to break anything. Just make sure they're snug. There we are. This last one I'll snug with my wrench. Now that we have all three bolts snugged, we'll continue on with our wire connector. Press it in, listen for a click, give it a tug to make sure it's completely secured. With the actuator fully secured, we can continue on with our black box. Put it in position, start in both of your 10mm headed bolts, then snug them up. Now it's time to start reconnecting our wiring. As you press them in, make sure you listen for a click, and then give them a tug to make sure each is secure as you move along. let's make our way under the hood to the negative battery terminal. Take that wire and put it all the way down onto the terminal as far as you can. After that, continue on by tightening your 10mm headed nut. Make sure it's nice and snug. Okay friends, we've got the actuator fully installed. At this point, go ahead and put the key in the on position and test its functionality. Aside from that, thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.